My name is Jorge Hernández. We're here at the Carpenters Hall Hotel in Austin, Texas with Made In, and we're going to make you an arroz, or a Spanish rice, using this new Made In paella pan. My mentor that taught me how to make paella used to say, if you control the fire, you control your life. Right? We're not outside cooking on live fire, we're here inside the kitchen, probably like you would be at home. So the biggest thing I can tell you is on your burner, find a spot where the pan feels nice and level. If the pan's not level, the rice isn't going to cook evenly. Try to figure that out before you start going. The less movement you make to the pan, the better. Find that sweet spot on your actual fire range. This pan can take a substantial amount of heat, and what we're going to do is we're actually use the ingredients, or the mise en place, to control the heat of the pan. So we're going medium-high heat on the burner itself. So good paella is about the flavor that the rice absorbs and not about having too many things in the pan. What we're going to start doing is getting color on the ingredients in the center of the pan once it gets nice and hot. And then once we get browning everywhere, we're going to move things out to the outside. You have too many things in the pan, it's going to crowd the rice and it's not going to cook evenly. But if I go in with my green beans, I go in with a little bit of my peppers. So the ingredients themselves, in a lot of ways, are what controls the temperature of the pan. So much of cooking is looking for smell, the sound that's happening in the pan. So you want to be listening as much as possible. You know, the smell will tell you if the chicken is browning or burning. The sound will tell you that there's still liquid evaporating, coming off of it. It means that you're still safe. Make sure the ingredients are level. There's not too much chicken in one spot. There's not too much of one ingredient in one spot. Once that's leveled out, you're going to add your broth. So then we're going to let this come up to a simmer. When it comes up to a simmer, we're going to taste it for salt. Keep in mind that it needs to flavor that rice. And then we're going to sprinkle in our rice. You don't want to take your time, like be too slow adding the rice, but you also don't want to dump it in one shot. At that point, you have about a good minute to where you can stir, make sure that rice falls evenly. We're going to start a 20-minute timer. First 4 to 5 minutes, we're going to let this simmer relatively hard so that we can control the amount of evaporation. If you don't do this part, you will not get that socarrat, or crispy layer underneath. You'll get too much evaporation, the liquid will cook off, it'll get salty, and the rice won't absorb it. So you can see just the very top started to get just a touch cloudy. That's okay. That's a little bit of that starch rising up to the top. What that starch is going to do is that once we bring it down to a simmer, it's going to create a little bit of a protective layer on the top. You have that starch layer comes out, it's been 4 or 5 minutes, so we're going to bring it down and we're going to wait another 10 minutes. So instead of a rapid simmer, it's like this nice, gentle, constant simmer. That starch layer is going to protect it, you know, this gentle bubbling and reduction underneath this starch layer. So, okay, we have 5 minutes left on our 20-minute timer. So we're gonna bring the heat back up just a little bit. Not quite as ripping as we had it before, but still looking at that kind of medium high. This is where we're gonna let all that collagen, all that gelatin that came from the meat stock, that starch from the rice that we trapped in, to form that socarrat on the bottom of that crispy layer. A couple of ways you can eat this, right? But what I do recommend is going to the bottom, right? Trying to get that socarrat and bringing it over and pulling it over, okay? And then scooping it. At that point, you kind of have this rice that's got a different texture, okay? You can find kind of where that crispy layers are and fight over those crispy layers on the bottom, that little bit of socarrat, okay? You can make a paella every day and it can taste just a little bit different, tweak it. It's meant to be fun. I feel like, for me, every time I make this, I feel like I'm learning something new about making a paella. And honestly, that's the fun part about cooking.